Hello folks, how are you doing? I am Scott, that is Bo, glaring at me because he really wants to go outside now. The third attempt at making this video. It is the 31st day of May 2022. It is a Wednesday. It is nice down here in sunny Tampa, Florida, and it's about now 7:35. The first try I made at this video was at 7:05. How are we doing? This is going to be the first video of the day. The second one is going to deal with some studies into the adverse reactions to the faux vaxxers. But this one is going to deal with questions that should be asked about what's going on with the investigation into the Uvalde massacre at the Robb Elementary School. Questions that should be asked, but aren't being asked. And I bring that up because old fucking Tucker Carlson, he came out, cutting edge dude that he is, asking questions that we were asking a week ago. Let me just check and make sure that I did actually. I think I forgot. No, stop recording, dude. He's asking questions like, how could this guy buy $4,000 worth of fucking firearms and weapons, and it was more than $4,000, and he had a part-time job at a Wendy's and was being bullied because he was poor, basically. That's a good question. We were asking that 5 days ago, 6 days ago, whatever the case may be. Basically a week ago, because today's Wednesday, so it was a day after the shooting. So I'm glad somebody in the mainstream media is asking this question. It's a very serious question. He's also asking the question, why did they change the story? Why did they say that there was gunfire exchange between officers and the shooter prior to him even entering the building? Why is that story there? Why did they say that there was a school system officer on the scene when later they claimed there wasn't? Why did they lie about someone propping open a door and leaving it propped open for the guy to come waltzing right in, when in fact, now evidence is that didn't happen? Every single time they try to fucking push a goddamn lie, why did they say they went in immediately when there was a 60-minute delay? All these questions he's asking, are good to ask, especially because he does what we do, and he makes connections to the broader picture. He says, well, yeah, that all happened. But then, out of nowhere, Justin Trudeau is trying to snatch up all the fucking handguns, or at least stop the sale of all handguns in Canada, because of something that happened over 2,000 miles away in a different country. Something, by the way, that really should have been thwarted if all the security measures in place had worked the way they're supposed to. And that's another question he doesn't bring up, but I will. Here are the questions that I want to ask that I think are important to ask and must be asked relatively soon. Let's put aside the 60-minute delay. Oh, they couldn't tell what fucking situation it was. Of course they could tell what situation it was, and the dude admitted it. Colonel McGruff, the crime dog from the Department of Public Safety in Texas. Here are the questions that should be asked, that need to be asked, that aren't being asked, to my knowledge, by anybody. Question number one, who was really in charge? Was it Pedro Allende? No. Arredondo. Was it Pedro Arredondo? Was he the guy in charge of a police department of 5 people? Was he giving out orders to be obeyed by Bortek, which they claim he was the one responsible for holding Bortek for the 35 minutes before they made entry? Was he the guy in charge of Bortek at the time, and the fucking city police, and the fucking sheriff's department, and all the neighboring sheriff's department in an active shooter situation? Was he really in charge? I don't think that makes any sense. And to be honest, there's evidence to support now the fact that he couldn't have been in charge. And I'll show you that in a second. So, number one, who was really in charge? Number two, where are the security videos? Number three, why didn't they snipe him through the windows? And we now have confirmation the windows were there. Aside from my quote-unquote investigation, we now have solid evidence that the windows are there. And of course, four, and this is another important one, is there a buzz-in security system on that door? All very important questions to ask. And let's get to answering some of them if we can. Now, I told you about his video, and he asks some very important questions, some very interesting questions. He calls it a power grab because he suggests, as rightly he does, that what's happening in Canada is people understand that he no longer works for the Canadians. He works for the World Economic Forum. He works for Klaus Schwab. And he's just a puppet. He's a puppet, just like the woman in fucking New Zealand's a puppet, just like Morrison in Australia's a puppet, just like the people in Austria are puppets, just like Zelensky's a puppet. They're all puppets. They're all puppets, including our own fucking quote-unquote president and most of our fucking Congress. They're all puppets, bought and paid for by the World Economic Forum. And his contention is that things are going to be happening soon, and the puppet in Canada is concerned, and he doesn't want an armed populace out there angry at him for what's about to happen. So changes are being made. Legislation's been put in place. He suggests that in this legislation in Canada, which I have not seen, it goes beyond just stopping the sale of handguns across the board in Canada. But it also seems to imply, or at least he seems to imply, that there's legislation written within the legislation that would allow certain types of courts, like red flag courts, to start snatching up guns from people who have the wrong opinions based on their social media or their online presence or their private conversations on cell phones. It's all part of it. So he's on pace with that. Let's talk about the first question. Who's really in charge? Remember when I showed you this? This is something I showed you right off the bat. There was talk about the wait, and all these people were standing around. And at one point in time, a bunch of folks start running towards the back. Have a listen to what the reporter said.
Large law enforcement present in the back of the school. We are actually standing in the front of the school. This is as far as we can get to the scene. I can just tell from the faces out here of law enforcement that this is very difficult.
Here they go.
It's difficult for us to stand out here. And we're still waiting to find out exactly what happened.
Why are they all
we do
running?
See some more law enforcement, looks like DPS, Border Patrol, running into the school right now. We are not sure why. We don't know what's going on. We are standing here. Looks like that perhaps is a Sheriff Nolasco also running into the building right
Sheriff Nolasco
right now.
running into the building, and that's the guy who was given the, that's not Sheriff Nolasco. One of the other ones is Sheriff Nolasco. But that's the guy who was given the press conferences after the guy from the school police department was, the first day. He gave two. After that, this dude took over. But she just said Sheriff Nolasco was there. Sheriff Nolasco, if he was there, would certainly be in charge. No fucking mall cop hired to go to an elementary school. Now, of course, I don't mean to demean Pedro. Pedro had police department experience under his belt, and by everything that I have read before, he was beloved. He was much better than the one who was there before, who got fired for being a piece of crap. So I don't need to demean Pedro. But Pedro would not have been in charge if Sheriff Nolasco was on the scene. And he was on the scene. He was on the scene. This is Sheriff Ruben Nolasco. Here, right here. With his white hat. Here he is crying with Ted Cruz over this situation. I guess Ted Cruz is praying with him. Who the hell knows? This is Nolasco sitting next to Ted Cruz. This was during a event held for the children who were lost in Robb Elementary. And here he is, of course, hugging the governor of Texas. Not much had been heard from him. I wanted to show you this. This is, of course, the entire police department, and this is Pedro. Sheriff Pedro. Or Chief Pedro, not Sheriff. My fault. This is his entire fucking team. This man is not going to be in charge when you have all of these people at a scene. All of these people at a scene.
Border Patrol, Uvalde, City Police, Uvalde County, DPS, multiple law enforcement agencies from probably 4 different counties, surrounding counties, in addition to EMS units from Kenny County, from Medina County.
Okay, so this guy's not going to be fucking in charge. No. This guy's not going to be in charge of all those people. He would be. So, pointing the finger and saying he's the guy who's in charge, as I've said before, is just merely finding a scapegoat. Okay? He's the man in charge. We haven't heard from him. Apparently, both his police department and this police department are refusing to cooperate with the investigation from Texas DPS, looking to find a scapegoat. So, but let's just put that aside. It's not this man's fault. He could not order a stand down in that circumstance. And I'll tell you the truth, with Bortak there and the Department of Homeland Security's Border Patrol, I mean, there are certainly levels to these things. My guess is he could be still in charge if he refused to relinquish control. However, I don't believe that he would have in a circumstance like that. Who knows? But DPS would probably be in charge in all likelihood. I don't know who gave the stand down order, but someone obviously did. And right now, these are our 2 prime suspects. But I'll tell you right now, Pedro could not be ordering all of those people to sit back and sit around on their heels and do nothing while the shooter's in a room with 21 kids. That's the first question. The second question is, where is the security camera videos? Now, we've talked about this before, and I've told you that certainly in the wake of all the different shootings, there was one, I think it wasn't Laredo, what was it? Santa Fe, Texas, one of those down there. And then, of course, you had Parkland, and then before that you had Sandy Hook. There was a lot of fucking money pumped into security systems. A lot of money pumped into security systems. And recently, it says here it says in one of these that they had recently put several $1 million or upped their budget by a lot in the last couple of years in Uvalde. And they laid out the fact that, here you go, Uvalde Consolidated Independent School District, of which Robb is a member, followed this conventional wisdom, which I just mentioned to you, of putting more money and more protection into the kids, and embraced a modern security solution at its schools. Indeed, the district had actually doubled its security budget over the past several years to invest in a variety of recommended precautions. They had put a whole ton of money into the system, including potentially a buzzing system at those doors. We'll talk about that in a second. There's an article here by the Houston Chronicle, and it's this article here. Lawyer says Uvalde teacher did not leave door open before gunman entered Robb Elementary School. This is from the Houston Chronicle. It was written today, or posted today, updated today. I don't know how it's today because the original date post is today because, quite frankly, Tucker Carlson mentioned this article yesterday. So, but here we go. Let's scroll down a bit here, and this is the most important thing to be fucking pulled from this. Yes, in fact, she did not prop the door open and leave it open. Quote, she kicked the rock away when she went back in. She remembers pulling the door closed while telling 911 that he was shooting. She thought the door would lock because the door is always supposed to be locked. Messages were left Tuesday seeking comment from the Texas Department of Public Safety. A law enforcement source familiar with the investigation said surveillance video and audio verifies the employee removed the rock holding the door open and closed it, end quote. She slammed it shut, said the source, who requested anonymity because the source does not have authority to speak with the media. Both Flannery and the source said a person exiting through the door might not be able to tell if it was locked, end quote. Here's the deal with that. I told you yesterday that they were trying to throw her under the bus, and they would probably use one of the teachers who was dead to do that. It turns out she was actually on the phone with 911. So the police have known this for a while, and certainly when they gave their fraudulent statement about the new fucking timeline on Friday, they had time to review the 911 calls. That's why he had to admit that they knew that there were children still alive during that 60 minutes they were sitting there twiddling their thumbs. So they knew that they could hear. He says, he wrote, the dude stated in the audio and video recordings, which means there's a camera showing that door just like I told you there would be. There's a camera showing that door that shows her pulling it closed. Well, that camera doesn't have audio. No, it doesn't. What does have audio recording? The 911 call. Meaning, she's goes outside to start with to get food for the classroom. She's bringing the food back in the classroom. There's a crash. Bam. Oh my God, what the hell is that? She goes back. She sees the truck crash. She goes back into the classroom, puts the food down. She had propped open the door so she could go out there, which means it did lock. She goes back into the classroom, grabs her cell phone from her pocketbook, comes in to call 911 about the truck crash, and when she calls 911, comes out to see what's happening, some dudes across the fucking street at the funeral home, and I've shown you that picture, that layout, they start yelling, he's got a gun, he's got a gun. And he's coming across the field. She looks up and sees, and she's on the phone with the 911 to report the truck crash. She sees the guy's got a gun. Then he starts popping off shots towards school. She goes, ah! She goes back in the door. She kicks the fucking rock out of the way on fucking phone with 911 and slams it shut. Ergo, we have the audio to go with the video. They knew all of this on Friday. Why the fuck did they lie? Why did they insinuate that it was Pedro who was in charge, who gave the fucking stand down order, even to Bortek, who certainly Department of Homeland Security and Border Patrol, they don't answer to Pedro, Chief Pedro. I'm sorry, they don't. Why did they lie about that? There's lies upon lies upon lies. And again, remember how it's being used. Remember what they're doing with it. You have a guy in a totally different country using it to fucking jack fucking weapons away from citizens. Because he knows what's coming up there. People are already... I saw a great video, short video, a guy who takes care of injured fucking horses. Saying, we're done with this. He's from Canada. He says, we're done with this. We can, debate all you want, but there's no debate between what's going on with them and what's going on with us. And we got to come together. It doesn't matter what fucking political party you belong to, or whether you're pro-abortion or against abortion, whether you're black, white, green, paisley, Jewish, Christian, atheist, Muslim. It don't matter. That's what these people are doing to us. He's absolutely right. And it's videos like that that get fucking Trudeau concerned enough to want to use this event to justify grabbing guns in Canada. It's all, they don't see a difference. To them, there are no borders. It's just them versus us, all across the westernized world. And that's a fact. So we've addressed, where are the security videos? There are security videos. They do exist. And they saw them before and listened to the audio from the 911 calls before that Friday fucking statement he made, which means he's a liar. Colonel McGruff, his Mick, whatever his fucking name is, Colonel McGruff, I call him. You know what I'm talking about. Completely fucking lied. Repeatedly on Friday. You got a serious fucking problem when there are 19 dead children and people are lying from the podium who are supposed to be the ones in charge of figuring the whole thing out and telling you exactly what happened. When they start lying from the podium, the same problem they had with fucking Vegas, the same problem they had with Parkland. When they start lying from the fucking podium, there's a problem. And when they're using this thing to advance a different agenda, taking people's guns away who had nothing to do with what happened in Uvalde, Texas, there's a real fucking problem. Why didn't they snipe him? Now, I've covered this to death. I'm just going to show you once again. This was my artwork. I based this on when I was looking around on Google Earth. This is the school. On this street, you could see clearly all the way down through here into the windows on this wall. And there are the windows on that wall. And then you could also see that these roofs were slightly elevated above the roof of the walkway, which means a sniper would have a decent shot at a ground level, first floor level window. And it would be elevated so that even, no matter who, even if they were crawling through the fucking rooms, you'd have a good shot at them. You have positions here, 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 and here. Why didn't they snipe him? The only problem I had with this was that, well, maybe that's a window, but maybe it's this window, but there's a bush there, so maybe there's not windows in these two rooms. That was the only issue I had with it. Well, and I said when I made the video on it, that was the only issue. Yeah, my thing crashed when I tried to pull up something. I'll tell you about that in a second. The Houston Chronicle also put together this thing on how the whole thing unfolded. And they showed you, again, accurately the same thing I showed you with my image, where he came from. He's coming along here, walking down this path, goes in the door, which is not locked, or something, comes down this hallway and into 112 and 111. Well, guess what? That's 112 and that's 111, and those boys and girls confirmed are windows in those classrooms. So the question remains, why didn't they snipe him? Why didn't they put snipers on those fucking roofs and take the piece of shit out? It's a very good question, isn't it? Lastly, how'd they get into that door? Now, we've talked about how they put money into the school system. How they put money into the school system and all these fucking things in the last couple years. They dumped a bunch of money. And they gave Chief Pedro a team. They just hired 2 more last year. And they did a bunch of stuff at the schools. Don't take my word for it. Just ask them. Because these are the 2 new ones, I believe. Because they told you exactly what they did. They told you about all of the different security measures that they have in place. They hired a fucking outside firm called Raptor. And what Raptor did was they detected things and they checked on things like Raptor Technologies, the Raptor Visitor Management School Security System. And it screens if somebody comes to the door to be a visitor for sex offenders and alerts staff of custody violations and provides district-wide reporting for all visitors. Does that mean they actually had a video entrance system on the school property? Could they have buzzed him in? Could somebody have buzzed him in? Now, I told you my computer crashed. The reason it crashed was because I pulled up and looked up, went to Raptor Technologies website, and immediately my computer crashed. So I had to bring all this stuff back up. Listen to this. I talk about the perimeter fencing. He jumped over it. Security vestibules and outside door buzz-in systems. Now, Uvalde High School utilized a security vestibule outside door buzz-in system, and Ethan Elementary utilizes a security vestibule and directs visitors to the office. I don't see a sign at the back door directing people to the office at Robb. I don't know if they have a buzz-in system or not. But we do know from the other question I asked that they have security cameras. In this case, point number 14 of their 21-point How They're Taking Care of Your Children report, they state, talking about security cameras, approximately 100 cameras are in place at Uvalde High School and 24 at Morales Junior High. What does that mean about how many are at Robb? It doesn't say. I'd like to know. I don't think they would. There's only 4 or 5 schools. So I don't think they would just completely ignore them. So, in fact, there are door buzz-in systems. In fact, there are security cameras. In fact, there are contracts with Raptor's Technology, who utilizes the Visitor Management School Security System. Which means they will take an image of somebody as they come to knock on the door to get in, or buzz to get in, and the camera not only shows up in the fucking office at the school, but also through Raptor's system via AI. If the individual is listed as a sex offender or serial killer or whatever the hell it is, it'll red flag him so he can't come in. Now, does that exist only in the high schools and not in the elementary school and the middle school? I don't know. That's why it needs to be asked. Is there a buzzer system and a video? We know there's a video because the anonymous fucking person with the police department said there's video and audio of her kicking the rock out of the way of the door, slamming the door shut because somebody outside had a gun. There's a video of that, which means there may very well be a video entry system on the back door of that fucking place. Why haven't we seen any of the video? I don't want to see videos of kids being shot. God knows. I want to see a video of that dude coming through the door. I want to see a video of that dude coming through the door. And not someone as if it's that dude. That's what I want to see. You know, I want to see what those officers are doing on that long shot down the hallway. There's got to be cameras on that hallway. I want to see a long shot of what those officers were actually doing. I want to see the fucking 60 minutes. What were they doing for the fucking 60 minutes? I want to see it. I'll sit and watch the whole fucking 60 minutes of that hallway shot. I don't want to see kids injured or hurt or crying. But I want to see what those officers were doing for that 60 fucking minutes. They were standing around there doing nothing, twiddling their thumbs with their thumbs up their asses. That's what I want to see. Where's the goddamn video? These are all legitimate questions. Who was really in charge? It wasn't Pedro. We know it wasn't Pedro. We've got proof, and perhaps even video proof, that the sheriff was there, which would have put him in charge, and possibly even in charge over Border Patrol and Bortec, because he's the sheriff. Possibly even because he's the sheriff over the city police, but certainly in charge over the school system's police department. There's no question about that. So let's stop vilifying Pedro. Let's not let him become the damn scapegoat for this. The sheriff also hasn't been around for making comments. And except for weeping with Ted Cruz in front of the cameras, we haven't heard much from him either. Four questions that should be asked, should be answered. And again, keep in mind, there's a national and apparently within Canada, an international outcome to all this. Lots of questions. I thank you for your time.